If you're watching this video right now, I want you to listen carefully, because what I'm about to share is not just a story, it's a warning. A warning that sometimes the people we sacrifice everything for are the very ones sharpening knives behind our backs. Before I continue the story, kindly like, subscribe and tell us where you're listening from. 6 years ago, I made the boldest decision of my life. I left behind my career, my friends, even my family, all because of one woman. To me, she wasn't just a lover, she was my everything. The kind of woman you look at and think, yes, God must have created her on his best day. She was beauty, elegance, and charm wrapped into one. And when she said yes to my proposal, I swore to myself I would give her the world. I worked like a man possessed. Every coin I made, I saved. Every investment, every risk, I took it with her in mind. I wanted our life together to be perfect. A big house in her name, a joint account to prove my trust, plans for the dream wedding that would shut down the city. You name it, I did it. My boys even told me, bro, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But I laughed. Because love makes you deaf to wisdom. Fast forward, just a few days to the wedding. The tuxedo was ready, the hall was booked, the guests had confirmed. I was floating on cloud 9. But life, my friends, has a way of dragging you down into the dirt without warning. That night, I was alone at home, scrolling through last-minute details when my phone buzzed. An anonymous number. At first, I ignored it, but the call came again. And again. On the third ring, I picked up. A woman's voice. Calm, steady, almost too steady. You need to know the truth before you say, I do. Now, you'd think I'd hang up, right? But something in her tone froze me. She went on to say that the woman I was about to marry wasn't the angel I thought she was. That she had been seeing someone else. Not just any someone else, but a young, flashy guy who had been whispering poison into her ears. His advice? Marry me, take all my properties, drain the joint account, then file for divorce. And if I resisted, end me. Yeah. You heard that right. End me. At first, I laughed bitterly. I wanted to believe it was just some jealous ex, or a prank. But she didn't stop there. She gave me details. Conversations they'd had. Plans they'd laid out. Dates, locations, even the exact amount sitting in our joint account. And then she hung up. I sat there in the dark, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would tear out of my chest. Imagine building a castle, only to realize the queen you crowned was digging a grave for you in the backyard. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment with her. The smiles, the kisses, the way she said she loved me. It all felt like glass shattering in slow motion. But here's the thing, I didn't rage, I didn't cry. No. Something else took over. Cold, sharp, unshakable clarity. If she thought I was a fool, I was going to show her just how dangerous a fool can be when he wakes up. The next morning, I wore my suit, polished my shoes, and walked out like it was any other day. She kissed me goodbye, smiling sweetly, having no idea that the man walking out of that door wasn't the same one who walked in. I had a plan. And believe me, my friends, it was going to be a masterpiece. But before I tell you how I flipped the script on her entire life, I want you to imagine this, standing a few steps away from your wedding day, the one you thought was perfect by your side, and suddenly realizing the altar wasn't just meant for vows, it was meant to be your grave. Would you still walk down that aisle? Or would you, like me, choose revenge? After that call, I knew one thing for certain, I couldn't let emotions drive me. Rage would expose me. Tears would weaken me. No, I had to play the fool. Pretend I was blind. Pretend I was still madly in love with her, still walking straight into her trap. That morning, when I left the house, she texted me a heart emoji with the words, "Can't wait to be your wife." I smiled at the screen, typed back, "I love you too," and my hands didn't even shake. You know why? Because I had already decided, she wasn't going to destroy me. I was going to destroy her. My first stop was the bank. The same bank where she and I had opened a joint account months ago. I can still remember her excitement when I told her we should merge our finances. She thought it was the ultimate proof of trust. But the anonymous caller was right, she had been planning to bleed me dry through that account. I walked in, greeted the manager politely, and said I wanted to make some urgent adjustments to my account. Within an hour, the account that had both our names now bore only mine. Every cent, every dollar, locked away from her reach. I signed the final document, slid it back to the manager, and smiled. Checkmate, move one. Next was the property. That house, oh, that house. A 2-story dream villa, bought in her name because I thought it would make her feel secure. But what it really did was put the knife in her hand. So, I called my lawyer. I told him it was an emergency transfer, no questions asked. Papers were drawn up, signatures made, and by evening, the house that once read her name now bore only mine. As I left the lawyer's office, I remember whispering to myself, "You plan to bury me, but I'm about to erase you." But the biggest move of all, the wedding. Ah, the wedding. Invitations sent, decorations arranged, caterers paid, and a hall that could fit 200 guests. All of it had to burn quietly. I picked up my phone, made a few calls, and cancelled everything. No explanations, no second thoughts. The vendors were furious, some begged, some cursed, but I didn't care. The date was erased. The hall emptied. The caterers moved on. And she had no clue. That's the beauty of silence. Revenge doesn't always need noise. That night, I returned home, and she was waiting at the door with dinner. She hugged me, kissed my cheek, and asked how my day went. Do you know what I did? I laughed. I laughed so hard inside, but outside, I wrapped my arms around her and whispered, "It was perfect, baby. Just perfect." She didn't notice the coldness in my eyes. She didn't notice the way I studied her every movement, like a predator circling its prey. She was too busy dreaming about the wedding she thought was coming. Over the next few days, I played my role flawlessly. Smiling, planning, pretending. We sat on the couch choosing flower colors, she tried on her dress in front of me, and I nodded like a man who couldn't wait to see her walk down the aisle. If only she knew that by then, her aisle had already been stripped bare. But let me tell you the hardest part of revenge, it's not the actions, it's the waiting. Pretending not to know. Smiling when you want to scream. Holding her hand when you know that same hand was ready to sign your death warrant. There were moments when I almost broke. Times when I looked at her and wanted to confront her, demand the truth, expose her lies. But then I remembered, anger would only give her power. Silence was my weapon. And patience was my bullet. One night, she asked me something that almost made me choke on my drink. She said, "Babe, do you ever think about what life would be like without me?" I looked into her eyes, and for a second, she must have seen something, because she flinched. I smiled, placed my hand on hers, and said softly, "That's impossible. I can't imagine life without you." And inside, I thought, soon, you'll wish I couldn't. The day before the wedding, she was glowing, running around, calling her family, making final touches. She kept asking me, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "Yes." But my nerves weren't from excitement, they were from holding back the storm that was about to hit her world. Because what she didn't know was that the church she thought would be packed with friends and family was nothing but an empty shell. The decorations she expected were gone. The guests she imagined were never coming. She was about to walk into the grandest humiliation of her life. And the beauty of it? She had no idea. So, I went to bed that night, calm, collected, my plan complete. And as I closed my eyes, I whispered to myself, tomorrow, the hunter becomes the prey. Ladies and gentlemen, if you thought the setup was brutal, wait until you see the execution. The wedding day finally arrived. A Saturday morning painted in sunlight, the kind of day people dream about for the perfect ceremony. She woke up humming, her eyes bright with excitement. She kissed me before leaving with her bridesmaids, saying, "I'll meet you at the altar." Little did she know, the altar she was walking toward was her downfall. See, by this point, everything was in place. The bank account, mine. The house, mine. The wedding, cancelled. But I didn't tell her. Oh no. I wanted her to walk into that church with her entire family, dripping in pride, only to find nothing waiting for them. I was long gone by then. My suitcase was already packed, my ticket confirmed. But I had one last gift for her before disappearing: public disgrace. Around noon, her family's convoy pulled up to the church. Her uncles in suits, her aunts in lace, cousins snapping photos outside. She stepped out in her sparkling white gown, the veil catching the light like a crown. She looked every bit the queen, except her kingdom had crumbled without her knowing. They pushed open the church doors, and froze. No guests. No music. No flowers. No pastor. Just dust floating through the air and cobwebs stretched across the pews. The place looked abandoned, like a graveyard of broken dreams. I imagine the silence must have been deafening. Her cousins whispering, her mother's face paling, her father looking like a man robbed of dignity. And her, standing there in her gown, confusion turning to horror. One of her bridesmaids tried calling me. No answer. Another checked her watch, insisting maybe the ceremony was delayed. But the truth was right there, staring them in the face. She pulled out her phone, her hands shaking, and dialed me. The first time, I let it ring. The second time, I declined. The third time, I answered. "Where are you?" she demanded, her voice already cracking. I kept my tone calm, almost cold. "Look around you." There was a pause. I could hear her breathing hard. Then she whispered, "What did you do?" I chuckled, low and steady. "I cancelled everything. The guests. The flowers. The vows. All of it. Because I found out the truth." Silence. Pure silence on the line. Then came the sobbing. She tried to explain, tried to beg, but her words spilled like broken glass. "It's not what you think. I love you. Please, don't do this." But I'd heard enough lies to last me a lifetime. Her father's voice rose in the background, demanding answers, while her mother wailed in humiliation. Imagine the shame, coming to the grand wedding of your daughter, only to realize she'd been left standing in a ghost town. I let her cry, let her choke on her own desperation. Then I said the words that ended it all: "You wanted my life, my money, even my death. Well, now you have nothing. Goodbye." And I hung up. They say revenge tastes sweet, but in that moment, it was more than sweet, it was intoxicating. I pictured her falling to her knees, makeup running, her family staring at her like she was cursed. And me? I was already on my way to the airport, leaving the ruins of that day behind like ashes in the wind. Do you know the irony? She thought she was the hunter, setting the perfect trap. But when the trap snapped shut, she realized she had been the prey all along. That night, my phone was flooded with calls, texts, voicemails filled with pleas and apologies. I didn't respond to a single one. Because for the first time in months, I felt free. Free from her lies. Free from her poison. Free from the prison of fake love. But what I didn't know was that the mysterious voice on that anonymous call, the one who saved me from destruction, was about to walk back into my life. And that twist, my friends, would change everything. You followed me through the betrayal. You've watched me flip the script. You've seen her humiliated in front of her family. But there's one part of the story I haven't told you yet. The part that explains how I even survived in the first place. Because without that one anonymous call, I might have been standing at that altar, smiling like a fool, walking straight into my own grave. So tonight, I want to tell you who saved me. After the wedding disaster, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from her, her parents, even friends we shared. But there was one number I kept staring at, the anonymous one. The one that dropped the bombshell on me days earlier. I couldn't shake it. Who knew so much about her betrayal? Who was bold enough to warn me? And why did her voice sound familiar? A week later, when the dust had settled, I decided to trace the number. A few connections, a little digging, and I found her. And when I say I froze, I mean my heart stopped. Because the woman behind that call wasn't a stranger at all. She was someone from my past, someone I had almost forgotten. Her name was Ajoa. Back in my university days in Africa, I was struggling. I'm talking empty pockets, skipping meals, wondering if I'd make it through. My family couldn't support me much, and I was too proud to beg. But she was there. Not as a girlfriend, not even as a close friend, but as this quiet, selfless soul who always showed up when I least expected it. When I couldn't afford books, she shared hers. When I missed meals, she'd accidentally pack extra food. She never asked for anything in return. She just gave. And when I graduated and left to chase my future abroad, we lost touch. Life moved fast. But she remained etched somewhere in the corners of my memory. And now, years later, she was the voice that saved me. I called her. The moment she answered, I knew. That same calm steadiness, that same unshakable tone. Why? I asked her. Why warn me? Her reply was simple, because I couldn't watch you walk into death. You might have forgotten me, but I never forgot you. I swear, for a moment, I was speechless. Out of all the people I had trusted in my life, the one who came through for me was the one I had overlooked. We spoke for hours that night. She told me she had mutual connections who had seen my fiancé sneaking around with that young man, that she pieced the story together, and when she realized the danger, she had to step in. You don't deserve to die for love, she said. Her words hit me harder than I expected. Here was someone who once helped me in my hardest days, now saving me again, even when she had nothing to gain. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Days turned into weeks, and while my ex-fiancée's life spiraled into chaos, her family disowning her, her so-called handsome prince draining her for money, I was rediscovering someone real. One evening, I called Ajoa again, and this time, I said something different. You saved my life. Let me show you my gratitude. She laughed, hesitant, but I meant it. I arranged her visa. I flew her to join me. When she arrived at the airport, I almost didn't recognize her, more graceful, more confident, but with the same kindness in her eyes. When she saw me, she smiled and said, "Looks like I found you twice." And that, my friends, was the moment everything changed. We spent time together, catching up, reliving memories, building new ones. And slowly, I realized something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. No games. No masks. Just honesty. And as fate would have it, peace turned into love. I didn't plan it. I didn't force it. It just happened. And for the first time, I understood what real love felt like, not the kind that demands, manipulates, or deceives, but the kind that heals, that builds, that makes you stronger. So yes, the woman who once slipped food into my bag during my hardest days became the woman who stood beside me in my happiest. And while my ex-fiancée was drowning in misery, trapped with the man she chose, the same man who had promised her riches but left her with ashes, I was standing at a different altar, saying vows to someone who had proven her loyalty long before I even knew I needed it. But I'll save that part for the final chapter. For now, let me leave you with this: sometimes the people you think will ride or die with you are the ones who'll stab you first. And sometimes, the ones you overlook are the very angels who'll carry you through the fire. If you've stayed with me from the beginning, then you've seen the rise, the betrayal, the revenge, and the twist of fate. Now, let me tell you how it all ends, not with tragedy, but with triumph. After bringing Ajoa into my life, everything started to shift. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was walking on broken glass. There were no fake smiles, no hidden knives, no second-guessing every word. With her, life was simple, pure. She had nothing to prove and nothing to take. She just loved. We grew close, fast. Maybe because the foundation was already there, built years ago when she stood by me in my weakest days. Or maybe because we both knew what betrayal looked like, and we were done with games. Whatever it was, it felt right. So, not long after, I asked her the question. Not on bended knee in some flashy hall, not with 200 guests and fake applause. Just the two of us, at home, where honesty lived. And when she said yes, it wasn't about rings or status or wealth, it was about choosing me. Choosing us. This time, the wedding was real. Small, quiet, but powerful. No cobwebs, no lies, no hidden agendas. Just genuine vows spoken from the heart. And that day, as I looked into her eyes, I realized the sweetest revenge wasn't humiliation, it was happiness. Because while my ex-fiancée was busy reaping what she sowed, I was planting seeds of a future worth living. Now, let me tell you about her downfall. After the church humiliation, she tried everything to get me back. Calls, texts, emails, you name it. Promises that she'd change. Claims that she was misled. Crocodile tears. But I didn't budge. And when she finally realized the door was closed forever, she ran straight into the arms of that young man, the same one who had convinced her to betray me. But here's the thing about snakes, they bite everyone, not just strangers. Within months, he drained her. Every penny she thought she'd gained through me, he stripped from her. He made her believe he'd give her the world, but all he handed her was misery. From what I later heard, her family turned their backs on her, ashamed by the scandal she dragged them into. The so-called Prince Charming. He left her for someone younger, richer, and dumber. And her. She was left standing in the ruins, the same way she once planned to leave me. Karma. That's what it was. Not my hands. Not my schemes. Just karma, doing its job. Meanwhile, Ajoa and I built our life quietly. The house she once thought would be hers became the foundation of our home. The account she wanted to drain became the fund we used to start businesses. The future she tried to steal became the future I built with someone who actually deserved it. 3 kids later, laughter fills my home every day. Not the laughter of mockery or deceit, but the laughter of joy, of innocence, of family. When I watch my children play, when I see my wife smile at me from across the table, I remember how close I came to losing it all. And that's why I tell this story, not to brag, not to boast, but to remind you. Love is not blind. Love sees. And if you refuse to see the truth, love will blindfold you straight into destruction. So yes, I got my revenge. Not with violence. Not with blood. But with silence, patience, and the sweetest weapon of all, moving on to a better life while she drowned in the pit she dug for me. Now, to anyone watching this, let me leave you with a choice. When betrayal finds you, and trust me, at some point in life, it will, you can either let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can chase revenge through destruction, or you can do what I did, turn your pain into power and let happiness be the loudest revenge of all. Because while she suffers with nothing, I sit here with everything I ever wanted, a family, peace, and love that's real. And that, my friends, is how you turn a story of betrayal into a life worth telling. And that's how my story ends, not in tragedy, but in victory. If you enjoyed this journey and want to hear more stories filled with suspense, betrayal, and sweet revenge, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next twist. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and most importantly, drop a comment below. Tell me, what would you have done if you were in my shoes?